Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode. Today I'm going to show you how I cleaned a haze infestation out of two of my favourite vintage lenses. My Olympus Zuiko 50mm 1.4 is one of them, and this really is one of my favourite lenses. I've had this for many years and I've shot many images on it. And it's one of the lenses I've used the most over the years, and in fact it helped get me into vintage lenses. This is one of the first vintage lenses I bought. I've also had a go at cleaning up this Helios 44-3 that's sitting on the Sony A7 here. This was lent to me recently by viewer Derek Holmes, and if you saw the episode a little while ago, I think 3 or 4 episodes ago or so, you'll know that I wasn't too impressed with this lens. I was rather disappointed, in fact, because I didn't find it to be as good as the earlier versions, like this Helios 44 silver here with stand up with 13 blades. So it really didn't live up to my expectations of the Helios lenses, so I thought that this might benefit from a clean as well, so that's what I did. Now the Helios is a lens that comes apart very easily. It really is very simply constructed, and if you've never taken a lens apart before, if you've never had a go at cleaning a lens, any of the Helios lenses, any of the Helios 44 lenses, certainly the 44, the 44-2 and the 44-3, also the 44M, are very simple to clean. I'll just give you a quick look. So all we do is unscrew the front element here, rather the front ring here, and that allows the front element to come out and the two middle elements to come out. And then if you want to get the rear ones out, again, it's just as easy, because let's have some focus please. Thank you. We've got one very simple ring there to undo, and the rear element pops out as well. So this really is a very simple lens to clean if you've never opened up a lens before. It can be a bit daunting because, you know, even the simplest ones are quite complex things. The Zuiko is a bit more complex to do, and in fact it's a lot more complex to take apart, and I was initially a little daunted by this one. Like any mechanism, any lens will develop haze and fungus, especially if it's not stored properly, if it's stored in conditions that are a little bit damp. And like any machine or mechanism, they need servicing occasionally, so it's useful to know how to do it. These lenses are very old now, even the youngest of them are 30-40 years old, so if you've got a vintage lens collection, it's entirely possible that there will be some haze, there will be some fungus developing over time. So it's really good to know how to do even a basic service on a lens. Haze and fungus, especially fungus, actually can damage coatings and glass. If fungus gets a hold inside a lens, it'll eat into the coatings, and I've even heard, I've not actually experienced this, but I've even heard that it can eat into the glass itself, and if that happens, then of course your lens is scrap. So check your lenses regularly. Don't give haze or fungus any chance to get a hold. If you see it, clean it. That's the golden rule. It is difficult to see, so the best way to see it is to hold your lens up to a bright light source. You have to have a very bright light source behind the lens, and you will then see any haze or fungus that has developed within. It's very difficult to see without having a very bright light source behind your lens, so use one when you're checking. Now, dirty lenses with haze, fungus or too much dust will work fine in certain conditions, but the contrast will drop dramatically if any stray light hits that front element. So it's not always easy to know that your lens has haze or fungus. If you're not shooting against bright lights, if stray light doesn't hit your front element, you may well not know that your lens has a haze or fungus problem, but it can still be there and the lens still appears to work fine. So it really is as well to check carefully. Not all lenses, of course, are constructed like the Zuiko or the Helios, but most are broadly similar, and the techniques I'm going to be using today can be used on most lenses as well. Now, I'm not a lens technician, I'm not a camera technician. I really am just a cautious tinkerer, so there are two golden rules that I always follow. My first rule, rule number one, minimal dismantling. Don't go further than you have to. Even the simplest lenses have complex parts, especially in the aperture mechanism, and the focusing helicoids have to go back at exactly the right point. Ask yourself, can you get it back together? Never go further than you need to. Rule number two is go slowly and cautiously. Don't rush it. Lenses have lots of tiny little parts inside them, like springs, ball bearings, little metal pieces, things of that kind, just waiting to fly across the room, never to be seen again. So go slowly and cautiously, and you shouldn't run into too much trouble. So with all that out of the way, let's roll up our sleeves and get cracking. So, as I say, the Zuiko is the more complex of the two lenses, and I needed to be very, very careful here. I haven't dismantled a Zuiko lens before. I know that they're relatively complex lenses, so I was in very new territory, and I did feel a little bit nervous about taking this beautiful old piece of glass apart. I didn't know how it came apart. I didn't know whether I was going to be able to get it together, but keeping that rule of minimal dismantling and caution in mind, I went in to see what would happen. On these lenses, the faceplate comes off first, so you've got to get some sort of circular lens spanner. It's called a spanner, but it's not really a spanner. You've got to get a circular lens spanner onto that faceplate and unscrew it and screw it off, because the rings that hold the glass elements are actually underneath that faceplate. So the only way to get the elements out is to unscrew that faceplate first. I worked very, very carefully, keeping minimal dismantling in mind, and I was really, really cautious with my approach. I did get very lucky with this one, really lucky, luckier than I could have hoped, in fact, because the haze was behind the front element only. So all I had to do is get that front element out, clean it and put it back. It hadn't affected, I couldn't see anyway that it had affected any of the other elements. So that was a really, really lucky thing to have happened. And it was just as well too, because I wouldn't have wanted to go very much further with this lens. It is quite a complex one. So once the element was out, I just washed it in vinegar. White vinegar is best. Then rinse it and dry it very, very thoroughly. It really is important to dry these parts thoroughly, because otherwise you're introducing moisture into your lens, and that will encourage the development of more fungus and haze and all sorts of unpleasantness and nasties, and we don't want that. So it's important to wash thoroughly all that haze and fungus off, but really important to rinse and then dry your lens afterwards. This ring has to be in a very specific position. It has a very specific position to go in, which is right by the aperture mark. So that's nice and easy. So I managed to keep that in place. And then after washing, I screwed it back together and we're all done. And I must say, the results are really, really pleasing. I was really happy with the results that I got from this lens. It has a clarity that it just didn't have before. It has a brightness that it didn't have before, and the images it makes are just stunning. I'm really pleased with the repair that I did to this lens. It was nice anyway, but it was becoming a little jaded. It's seen quite a bit of use, this lens. You can tell when the Zuiko lenses have seen quite a bit of use, because this rubber grip here gets worn, and as you might be able to see here, this one is just a little bit worn, a little bit more worn. If we compare it to this 1.2, you might be able to see that the 1.2 is very much less worn than the 1.4. So it has seen some use, and I really didn't know quite what it was capable of until I cleaned it up. Colours are beautiful, contrast is better, it shoots into the sun better, it doesn't catch stray light as much. It's just improved by a very considerable margin, and I'm really happy with the result that I got from this one. Now, as for the Helios, well, as I said earlier, it's a very simply constructed lens, and it's a great one to start with if you've not dismantled a lens before. I couldn't actually see much haze in it, but given its poor performance, a good clean really couldn't hurt. So I unscrewed the front ring and took out the front element and the two middle elements, the two central pieces of glass that are actually cemented together. They're a cemented doublet. All the glass is removable. You have to take out the rear ring to get the rear element out, but it seemed very clean, so I left it in place. I didn't see any necessity to trouble that rear element. So it was really just the front element and the two middle ones that I actually cleaned. Everything comes out so easily on this lens. The elements just drop out. But do be sure to note how they came out so that you can get it back together. It's a very simple lens, but you've got to know the right order and the right direction of those elements to get it back together. When the elements were out, I could see that they were dirty. It was hazy, really, more than fungus that was troubling this lens. Just general sort of dust and dirt that it had picked up over the years, really. And I gave it the same treatment. I washed the elements in vinegar, then thoroughly rinsed them in water and dried them very, very thoroughly before putting them back into the lens. Now, you will note that the front element of this lens is uncoated. I thought, actually, the entire lens was uncoated, but it seems that it's just the front element. I could see some coatings on the middle elements, and I can see some coatings on the rear elements, but the front element doesn't seem to have any coatings at all. And in fact, the coatings that are there on this lens are scarcely visible or not terribly easy to see, so that suggests to me that they might be rather thin. They might not be completely up to the job. But nevertheless, it was interesting to see that they were actually there. So after thoroughly rinsing and drying, I popped it all back together, and of course I used the blower to keep dust to a minimum. Helios coatings seem to have become less good over time, and that's really surprising, and it goes a long way to explain why the earlier Helios lenses perform better than the later versions like this 44-3, and it makes me wonder actually how recoating might help these lenses perform better. They're very simple to take apart, so it would be a very interesting exercise to get these lenses coated in a modern sort of coating. So maybe, I don't know, I might be able to find, for example, an independent optician might have access to the kind of equipment needed. Let me know what you think in the comments box, because I think this lens could be considerably improved by some better coatings. So let me know what you think. Should I try and recoat this lens, or should I just leave it as it is, au naturel, so to speak, and use it as the manufacturers intended? Let me know in the comments box what you think I should do and what the best way to get this lens recoated might be. So anyway, what's this lens like now after its cleaning? Well, I'm glad to say it's much improved. It's lost that dullness that it's had. It's gained a little bit of sparkle. Some of that Helios character is now coming through. It's not the most contrasty lens in the world, but contrast has increased, and it does shoot better if you shoot into the sun, or if a stray light source hits the front element there. Previously, before I cleaned it, almost any light source would send the contrast way down, but now it takes quite a strong light source to do that, and it behaves far better than it did. And I was really glad to see that a simple clean could improve this lens so much. So I'm very pleased with the results that I got from cleaning this lens, as well as the Zuiko. Two really nice lenses have emerged out of that process, and that's great to see. So as it turned out, neither of these jobs was particularly difficult. I could have gone further if I'd needed to. I would have gone a little bit further, but I'm glad I didn't have to, especially in the case of the Zuiko, and I'm really happy with the results as well. The main benefits are clarity and greater resistance to stray light. The Zuiko is beautiful. It was pretty nice anyway, but it seems far clearer with a brightness it just didn't have before. The Helios is clearer and brighter too. It certainly lost that dullness, that really awful dullness that it showed when I first used it. And I'm very intrigued by the idea of coating the uncoated elements in the Helios. Would that be a good idea? Let me know in the comments box below. Also, tell me about your lens restorations. Have you restored a sad old lens to pristine condition, or have you tried to restore a lens and it's all gone a bit wrong? Tell me about that too. So that's it from me for today. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the jolly old bell thing before you go. And if you like the content on this channel and you'd like to support it and help it grow and develop, you can do that at patreon.com/Zenography, and you can do it from as little as $1 per month. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time for some more Zenography.